This is a short video on how to copy XY data from an Excel spreadsheet and paste it onto a grid in the SIMETRIX SIMPLIS waveform viewer using the Edit, Paste ASCII Data menu item. We also show how to move the imported curve from one graph or grid to another within the waveform viewer by using the Edit, Copy Selected Curve and Edit, Paste Selected Curve menu items. First, a word about the column headers. Your spreadsheet will need to have column headers. We can import three different types of units. One is time, the other is voltage, the third is current. And the column header will need to be formatted in the form that I have shown right here. Otherwise, for other types of units, we'll just use a simple name and that will give us a unitless import. Here I have a schematic, which I will go ahead and run, and it will generate a few curves off to the right over here. And one thing to note is that the menu bar up here will change if I click within that graph, so you need to make sure you're within the graph. And then if we look under the Edit menu item up at the top here, there are several items for cut, copy, and paste selected curves, which are used for moving curves around within SIMETRIX SIMPLIS. And then we have copy and paste ASCII data, which is used for taking the data from the curve and exporting it to an external spreadsheet or bringing it back in from that spreadsheet back into the graphical viewer. Here I'll pull up a spreadsheet and I have some data on that spreadsheet. The column headers are already set up as we mentioned before. Time will give us units and seconds. Current and voltage will give us those units. And over here power, we'll just import that as a unitless import. One thing to note is that the display resolution over here is very low, but if I click on one of the cells, the actual resolution is much higher. But when we import this data into SIMETRIX SIMPLIS, it will import it as it is displayed down over here. So the first thing we want to do is click on the topmost data, do a Shift Control Page Down or down arrow key, and now we've grabbed all roughly 10,000 lines of data here. Do a right click, Format Cells, go to Scientific Data, keep it in that form, add a few more decimal points of resolution, click OK, and now that gives us a higher resolution which we want for importing. Now I will grab the top four column headers. Again, Shift Control down to collect all the data below it. Right click and copy. We go back to the application. The cleanest way to import it is to get a new graph, which we do by doing File, New Graph, or clicking F10, brings up a blank graph. And then we go to Edit and we do Paste ASCII Data. And that brings in the data from the spreadsheet that we just looked at. I'll click on Curves, Stack All Curves so we can see them more easily. And we can see that the voltage was imported with units, the current was imported with units, and the power was imported unitlessly. Now, if I want to compare, let's say, the power to one of the simulated curves, we'll go ahead and we'll click up here on Edit. We'll do Copy Selected Curves for the internal cut and paste. I'll click Select Power, click OK. Now I'll move over to the other tab. Over here, you see these double bars off to the left of the grid. I'll click down here for the power grid, come up here, Edit, paste selected curve, and now we have the two curves on the same grid to compare. This wraps up our short video on importing XY data from an Excel spreadsheet into the SIMETRIX SIMPLIS waveform viewer and moving the curves between graphs and grids. We first imported the data using the Edit Paste ASCII Data menu item, and then moved the waveform using the Edit Copy Selected Curve and Paste Selected Curve menu items.